My name is Jessica, and this was my second year attending the Guadalajara mission trip. And honestly, I didn't know what to expect. My first year, I was so shocked by the surroundings and the conditions the people in the villages were living in that it really affected me and shifted my way of thinking. This year, I was arriving with a sense of familiarity, but still felt like an outsider, so I left feeling curious and maybe a little out of place. The thing I wanted and prayed for most while I was in the villages was to be a reflection of Jesus, especially since I'm not fluent in their language, but in all things I do, they would see and feel the love of God. I knew these people were what the Bible would describe as the least of these, and I, arriving with privilege and luxury compared to their meager and inadequate living conditions, was determined to be of help and change their lives during the few short days I was there. I think most people leaving for any mission trip share those same intentions. When you enter the village, you start to see children gather from all different directions, walking up rocky roads to come observe strangers in their home. Pretty quickly, you are surrounded by children. At first, they are shy, but if you just show them one smile and extend your hand, they will approach you, smile back, and never want to let you go. From then on, those kids want to be near you 24/7. They follow you around, laugh with you, and seem perfectly content. I noticed this last time too, but the kids don't ever complain or whine when we're playing games, making crafts, or handing out gifts, snacks, or candy. They just take what we give them and are thankful. Not being able to shower or even wash my face with water and sleeping in a tent with lots of bugs would have been my biggest struggle, but those things didn't ever bother me. I found myself to be extremely happy every morning when I woke up, ready to spend time with the kids and work. However, guilt and helplessness were definitely two feelings that were constantly in the back of my mind during our time there and even now. Guilt because it's not fair that we live in a society where shoes, clean water, and food are labeled as basic human rights, but I was doing so good. But those things may be considered luxuries. Helplessness because everything we were doing handing out candy, snacks, playing with the kids, giving out 30 capsules of Advil and vitamins were all temporary and wouldn't make any permanent changes. Even if I did take all of my savings and sold everything I owned to help, there are that many more who would still be in great need and it wouldn't even make a dent. But for every problem we face, seen and unseen, I know that our God is greater. Instead of helping and changing lives, my life was helped and changed. Instead of showing Jesus to others, I saw him in other people. The children whose hands, clothes, and feet were caked in mud, who were even as young as 5 years old, were the first ones to dust off the dirt on my pants every time I stood up. One day in San Ysidro, the mission team left to walk around the villages and pray for those in need. As we were walking, a girl who I didn't know came and held my hand. Her name was Estrella and couldn't have been older than 10 or 11. She was holding her little brother Kevin, who was 2, on her hip. Estrella was beautiful and Kevin was a super, super chunky, cute little boy. I saw him and laughed and asked if he was heavy, and she laughed and said yes. We got lost and had to turn around a few times, and even just on my own, the walk was not easy. It definitely made me think about Estrella and how much harder was it for her holding her little brother and walking up the mountain. When the path was smoother and just dirt, she would put him down and hold his hand. She knew when the path was about to get rocky and difficult to walk on, and she would pick him up and hold him. She put him down to walk on his own again, and eventually the walk became too much for him, and he started to cry. So having no choice, she picked him up and endured the hard walk on her own during the most difficult part of the journey, walking uphill on the rocky path back to the church. Watching this reminded me of God's love and sacrifice. He'll put us down and let us walk when we can handle things, but he is there to pick us up when things get too hard. And when we cry to him that we can't do it anymore, he will bear our burdens for us and take our pain. I think the hardest thing about leaving the village is feeling like we hardly did anything to help. The time spent always seems too short, and inevitably, I have regrets wishing I did more. With the little they have, I felt like they gave me so much. Instead of going there to give like I had initially thought, I received so much more in return. After we came back from the mission trip, I felt discouraged about the people and their situation and that I couldn't do anything to help. But then I was reminded of a Bible verse we read our last morning there. Praise be to God, who always causes us to triumph in his name. So I will continue to pray for the people with hope that God has a plan for each of their lives and commit to going and serving each year to the best of my ability. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. So I will gladly continue to go and give all that I have, knowing it is not enough because I alone can do nothing, but with God all things are possible. 2 Corinthians 12:9.